If you have flagship cards of dining credits, double check the list before you go because some of them might have changed. Speaking of change, Hyatt is changing award access for the better, but only for some members. Lastly, Delta is unbundling their business class, which sounds good, but might also be a trap. Big favor, give us a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. Even though some of that might benefit, then share this with them. Starting off, we were in Vegas for pretty much the last week over the 4th of July. I am still a bit sick, so you might hear that in my voice. We ended up starting the trip at Cosmo, and we finally tried the wraparound terrace room, which was always on my list. It's probably the best room that you can get under $300 when you're booking on a non-weekend day. We booked through FHR, so ended up using the full credit, and it was a great one-night stay. We also did have a dining credit that we used at Gymkhana, which exceeded my expectations. We've tried a lot of Indian places in SF and some pretty nice ones as well, but I'd argue that Gymkhana beats all of them. For breakfast, we did egg slut since it's good and easy. Also, if you are a Vegas person, Marriott Platinum status is probably the best elite status for Vegas that's not a casino-based status. After this, we ended up switching to the Waldorf proper for the weekend since Cosmo, Bellagio, and Palazzo were a bit too insane for my liking in terms of the price. At the Waldorf, we did end up getting upgraded to a junior suite, and I'm not sure what happened from this visit to our last one, but the soft product seemed to have improved quite a bit. We are planning to do another review video for 2026. This includes afternoon tea at Peacock Lounge and also drinks at Hard Shake. I'll touch more on this in a full review, but I was pleasantly surprised. Last year's stay was good but not great. This stay though for this year made me understand why they got awarded a Michelin key. For Sunday night, we ended up moving back to Cosmo and had a fountain view room. It was through FHR again, so we did have a dining credit, and we actually went back to Gymkhana. For the second meal, we ended up getting lobster, which was a bit overpriced for what it is, but still super tasty, and ironically, I would do it again. And of course, it depends on your bar and your budget, but I think it's worth a try, especially if you have a credit to use anyways. It's located inside of Aria, but you can use the credit at any MGM hotel, so pretty easy there. Note that the one in Aria doesn't have a Michelin star, but the one in London proper, so the original one, has 2 Michelin stars. Yeah, good food and a tub and a fountain view to relax afterwards is the perfect way to finish off a Vegas trip. Also, if you do want to see more Vegas stuff or travel stuff, check out the Sebby Fung travel channel. On our way back, we tried to check out the Chase Sapphire Lounge by the Club LAS. So first off, it is a pretty small lounge at about 5,300 square feet, with room for just 87 guests, making it one of the smallest Sapphire lounges in the network. If you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, JP Morgan Reserve card, Ritz-Carlton credit card, or Chase Sapphire Reserve for business, it's going to be access for you plus 2 guests for free. For better or worse, everyone's on the same list, even if you have the JP Morgan Reserve card. This is a stark contrast to competitor lounges, where for their invite-only cards, you can actually skip the line. And in fact, you actually have a full dedicated section of the lounge to yourselves. Getting to the Chase Lounge is also a bit of a trek. It's located in C, which is the older and more depressing looking concourse. This concourse is exclusively for Southwest flights. For most other airlines, you're probably going out of D. The tram is pretty fast, probably 5 to 10 minutes, depending on your timing and walk speed, but 10 minutes there and 10 minutes back still adds up. To be fair, the lounge does look nice. For the front section, the colors are going to be dark blue and gold, and very much makes me think of Vegas. The designers leaned into the location, and the grand illuminated stone stairwell with artwork is the best example of this. Upstairs, they use rose, burgundy, and crimson accenting, and apparently the rug was custom made for the lounge. You do also see some common themes among Chase lounges, including the fireplace and artwork, which still looks great here. That's alongside a nice and very fancy looking bar. The food section of plants around adds to the ambiance and the vibe. And of course, there is a sapphire blue sofa with the other elements intertwined. It does look pretty nice, and hopefully I'll be able to see it in person next time. Unlike competitors, at the moment at least, you cannot mobile check-in. You physically need to go there in order to put your name down for the list. So after checking over and putting our name down, we put our name down with a competing lounge through their app, and then went to the bathroom, and the other lounge already called us back. So we pretty much sped back to Concourse D with a minute to spare. To be fair though, that is a significantly bigger lounge that's arguably about 3 times the size. But again, 1/4 of that is for the invitation-only card, and I'd hazard a guess that the stricter guesting rules have helped more than people would like to think. I did run into a bunch of you there, and for most couples, each person had their own card. Okay, so this lounge was a 5 to 10 minute wait. The side lounge for the same brand, which is a pretty cool concept, was a 25 to 30 minute wait. The Capital One lounge had no wait, so that one we could have just walked in, and we would have been fine. I think guesting rules have helped a lot here as well. The Capital One lounge isn't the biggest either, at just 8,200 square feet. If your focus is food, it depends on your goal. So I know some people hate the chicken in the lounge, but for me, I'm currently protein maxing with chicken and broccoli, and the chicken in there isn't bad at all if that's your baseline. For better food though, I think Capital One does win, and they just have tastier looking options. At the same time, arguably less healthy. I'm curious what you think about guesting and whether it'll be necessary for Chase to follow suit, or whether they just need a bigger lounge in Vegas. If you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, there's been a big update to OpenTable Sapphire Reserve Exclusive Tables. It still works the same, so it's up to $300 per year, up to $150 for January 1st to June 30th, and up to $150 for July 1st to December 31st. Your options might have changed pretty dramatically though, depending on the city. Vegas being a scary example. So previously on the list, you had Nobu, Hell's Kitchen, Top of the World Steakhouse, Vanderpump, Haro, as well as La Stranga. At this point, there's only one left. You have Esther's Kitchen downtown, and that's it. I do expect them to eventually add more restaurants though, just because one restaurant seems crazy for Vegas. But yeah, the main idea is that you want to double check the list just because things can and do change. With that said, if you are in a major city, you're probably in a good spot. For example, LA has 28 options and New York has 44. Chicago has 26, and we actually ended up trying Perla Korean Steakhouse when we were there back in June. Pretty good experience and great service, and just a fun time and worth a stop if you like Korean barbecue, but more of the chef-guided premium experience rather than the ones you do yourself. At the same time, you are paying for that experience, so if you are optimizing only for amount of meat or amount of food, then it might be a skip. San Francisco saw an interesting shuffle. So 5 of the restaurants ended up leaving, and Mandy wasn't a fan of Shafiko, so she was actually happy to see it leave. There's also a bunch of new additions. There's 9 new ones including House of Prime Rib, Ernest, Happy Crane, and Anchovy Bar. Those are 4 I've actually been to, and I'd recommend. House of Prime Rib is definitely an institution, and I think it is worth a visit if you've never been, but relative to the pedestal that people put it on, I think it is a bit overrated. It's good, it's worth a try, but it's not life-changing good like some people make it seem. Also, reservations are a bit insane, and the earliest one that I can find right now is October 20th in like 3.5 months for 10 p.m. The strategy, if you don't mind waiting, is going 30 minutes or 60 minutes before they open, and then just lining up and doing bar seating. If you do end up missing that first seating, then wait until the last seating, around 9 or 10, and you can generally just walk in. Maybe a bit tougher for the weekend, but that's the strategy we use. If you have a big stomach, then do the King Henry cut, finish it, and then ask for an extra piece afterwards. For the sides, I'd recommend doing a fully loaded baked potato, and I swap out the spinach for creamed corn. I did end up doing a blog post for every city and which ones were added and which ones were changed since I've been tracking the states. If you Google OpenTable, city name, AskSebby, hopefully it pops up, but I'll also link it down below in case it doesn't. We also do travel a decent amount, so let me know if any of the ones on the list are worth trying and any that I should skip. On a side note, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website AskSebby.com and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense for you, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. If you have Hyatt status or you're a card holder, then you're in luck. There's been a lot of negative changes, and this is the one positive. So card holders, people of Hyatt Explorist or Hyatt Globalist status can book free night awards 13 months ahead of time. This was previously a feature for everyone, but with this change, it's only available for the select group, which should make it a bit better for that group. At the same time, the bar to be in that group is pretty low. Status is a bit harder, but getting a card is just $95 a year. Also, the fact that long-term, the card does make sense if you travel at all, the main rationale being that the Category 1 to 4 certificate every card member year pays for itself. For example, we ended up using ours back in June at the Hyatt Regency Chicago when the rates were pretty absurd for summer, about $500 or $600. So let's say $500 versus a free night certificate that I got for paying $95. Also, yes, it is a Category 4, meaning that it does count and it works. Availability for July isn't too bad, but not really great either, but I've seen more challenging hotels. Also, it does seem like it opens up last minute, for example, for Saturday, the 11th. The alternative being about $450 or $500 a night for that same room that you're paying for $95. Consider that the Holiday Inn that's downtown, which is not the nicest hotel, is still about $300 a night. Chicago is beautiful in the summer, and I totally get why people end up going there just to enjoy it. August is wide open, even for the weekends, so great opportunity if you have a Category 1 to 4 to use. Okay, so the 13-month change is good, but even with this, some of the more competitive hotels are going to be tough regardless. A great example of this is the Park Hyatt Kyoto, where even for August 2027 or July 2027, 13 months out, you're technically out of luck. The key driver for this is that there's not that many rooms, there's only 70 guest rooms and 9 suites. Even before the Japan boom, your best strategy was booking last minute, so it's just really tough. Also a reminder that if you have status or you're a card holder, you do need to log in order to see the 13-month out, otherwise you're not going to be able to book it. I do think that this is still a net positive, especially for high value properties that do have more rooms in inventory. Park Hyatt Niseko during ski season should be a good pickup, and same thing for the Ondas Maui, which can be harder to book because of demand, and also Grand Hyatt Kauai, which is also popular. Let's actually look at the last one because I'm curious. This definitely was one of our favorite beachcation style trips, but it's not cheap. It could be $800 to, let's say, $1,300. For next June, so June 2027, it's actually not bad, pretty much wide open other than 1 week. That's busted, but otherwise fine. July of next year is wide open with that early access, so pretty easy there. Compared to July right now, which is busted, which only has 80K rooms because there's no more standard rooms and they're only showing suite pricing. Even if you switch from premium to standard suites, it's still pretty busted. Yeah, I think this change rewards people that plan ahead and who want to book that trip 13 months out to lock it in. Maybe unfair, but I do kind of wish they took United's approach and provided discounts to card members or people of elite status. The argument is that it's not fair. The other side of it, though, is that if you are someone that stays with them, that you are loyal to them, and you travel a ton, then it's also technically not fair that you can't find availability. And again, even if you don't travel that much, you could just get the card. It's a pretty low bar. Even with this positive news, though, I would say that the changes across the board on a net basis have still been negative. Given this, I'd recommend earning and burning rather than hoarding. Going back to the Grand Hyatt Kauai, it's a category 8, and they're currently charging $55K for July 2027, so next July. With the new award chart, they technically can go from $55K to $65K or even $75K, and just because they haven't yet doesn't mean that they won't do it in a short notice. Short notice or even no notice. It does seem like their executive team doesn't want them to move prices up yet, but you just never know. And of course, I get saving for a 5 or 10 year anniversary, but given the risk, I'd rather just do a 4-year anniversary and have a longer vacation that's maybe 50% longer. Yeah, let me know what you think about the change and how you've been navigating devaluations and the risk there. The last story is Delta adding basic business. You probably already know basic economy. You don't get to select seats, you don't get upgrades, and you also can't bring a carry-on bag even if you have elite status. In my case, I currently have United 1K from work travel, and even for personal travel, I end up booking normal economy just because I like the perks. Even if it is $30 or $35 more per way, I've actually been getting upgrades, which have been nice. To be fair, they are shorter flights, so SFO to Vegas or LA or Chicago, but still makes it more pleasant. Internationally, we have seen basic business already. So for example, of Qatar, they have Business Light, which is exactly that. You still get the seat, you get the dining and baggage allowance, but you don't get seat selection, lounge access, you get less miles, and cancellations can also be a bit more weird. For the people that argue lounge access is pointless and they don't care about that stuff, this is perfect. The idea being that you're saving money on things you don't care about, but still getting the core experience. Also, if you are someone that has one world status, let's say of American Airlines, then you might already have lounge access anyways, so this doesn't affect you. You're paying less, but you're still getting lounge access due to your elite status. So in that case, if you are paying out of pocket, business light could mean that you're paying less money for a similar experience with a few caveats. Using points is where it gets weird. So if they are genuinely charging less for Business Light, then that's great. But if they're charging the same amount for Business Light and now charging more for standard business, then that's a devaluation. We're now seeing a US airline do this with Delta. You have no seat assignment in advance. You can do it when you check in, but otherwise you have to pay. There's no free changes and also no lounge access. They're already rolling this out for select domestic and also Latin flights. So this is basic first class, which has started. For the premium domestic or long-haul international, what was previously called Delta One, basic business starts September 2026. One interesting thing is that they're not calling this basic Delta One, they're calling this basic Delta Business. I'm guessing that way it's less confusing when people book and probably won't try to argue their way into the lounge. In fact, I think Delta is a bit worried about this, that they're even pushing the lounge change back until January 18th, 2027. So even if you do book basic business, you can access Delta One lounges for pretty much the next 6 months. After that, you'll either need to have status or have an eligible card, depending on the lounge you're trying to get into. The flight experience is the same, you still get food, and you also still get to use the restroom. Other than that though, you can pay to select seats or just wait until check-in to do it for free. You earn fewer miles, you get less checked bags, and also there's a fee to change or cancel your ticket. The big question for us is whether they're going to keep this with just cash rates or also bring it to miles redemptions and that side of the world. Also, if they do, whether it's a discount or the fake discount where prices just increase. In the short term, this is being positioned as a win for consumers, that they don't have to pay as much for business for features they don't care about. Long term though, I'm pretty skeptical. With Qatar, apparently it genuinely is cheaper. At the same time, they are state subsidized, so it's a bit of a different game. On the other hand, Delta is publicly traded and stock price does affect a lot of things, including bonuses. More revenue and less expenses is generally better. Also, I feel like there's enough people in the US that would happily pay for those premium tickets. That's why I'm kind of worried that it's going to end up being a fake discount and eventually just be the same thing. Consider that airlines are actually making a lot more money from business right now, and they make as much from business class as the entire economy class. Even though that plane might have 28 seats for business, 102 for economy plus, and 234 for economy, which pretty much means that one business class customer is worth 10 economy passengers in terms of revenue, and they also take up less room. The seat is bigger, but not 10 people's size worth. Given this, it's not a surprise that US airlines are chasing these customers. The idea is that people have chips that they want to spend. How do you convince them to put more chips in? That's actually why a lot of airlines are adding more business class seats and trying to improve the hard product. The crazy thing too is that premium cabins, apparently back in the day, used to be loss leaders that were probably being given away as upgrades to elite status members, and now it's actually the highest margin product. You actually also see this with lounges. A lot of people happily pay a lot of money for annual fees or credit cards. In fact, I've heard from some of you that you'd happily have the annual fee go to, let's say, $2,500 as long as there's $2,500 in new credits. Premium leisure travel as a market has grown dramatically over the past few years, and it doesn't feel like it's slowing down. Barring a recession or dramatic pullback, it seems like things are chugging along. Broadly, the market's been pretty good, so people have been happy. Also, maybe it's a Bay Area or SF thing, but it feels like the real estate market is insanely hot right now, to the point that the median house price in the city is now $1.7 million. Also, the fact that people are selling their homes for AI stock. The more that companies know that people are willing to pay, the more the companies are going to try to charge. I guess if prices do skyrocket, we still have miles as a backup. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. And if you're curious, all legal affiliate disclosures can also be found below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a robot emoji in the comments down below and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, have the OpenTable changes for your city been positive or negative? Are you a fan of this Hyatt benefit, and what else would you want them to add? Also, do you think Delta Basic Business is a trap or is it actually a positive? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favor, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time. I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords.